Good evening out there. Welcome to today's live chat with Emmanuel Nzeribe. I want to sincerely appreciate everyone who's taken out time to join us. Thank you so much. How has been your day? I guess you're good. I've had very great moments. And it's been a wonderful day. What with the rains at the beginning of the day and so on and so forth. Our guest tonight is a very enthusiastic and a wonderful young man. Yeah, he is currently the vice president of the Students' Union at Babcock University. So I am not just looking out for people who have made it in terms of they have just hit it very heavy. We're looking at even the very young ones and trying to see how we can glean from them, because we can equally learn from very young people. So tonight is one of those very wonderful evenings with this promising leader. And we're looking at having a niche, pace setting. We're looking at a pace setter this evening. And again, being the host, I am the convener of the Beyond the Four Walls Skill Acquisition Program. And if you're going to learn a skill, then you must be your own leader. You must be able to learn how to lead yourself, how to tackle certain things about your own life. In fact, you need to be able to put your word together. That's one of the skills you would need if you would learn anything that's to do with your hands or any of those soft skills, so to say. So I want to say welcome to everyone. I just want us to kickstart this program at any moment when we are fully set. Our guest is already with us, very much present. I'm so excited. That speaks another great detail about this young man I'm bringing up. Someone who is so timely. All right? You could see that we're not waiting for him this evening, but he's already here with us. And I'm very excited about that. So we're going to go into that. We have a lot of questions, so to say, and I hope we'll be able to tackle it within the time frame. It's already about 5 or so minutes past 5, and once it's about almost 5 minutes past 5. It's a little bit almost 5 minutes. So when it's exactly 5 minutes thereabouts, I think we might just kickstart this program. So we'll have room, to discuss and, rub our minds, bring a lot of things to bear on leadership. Leadership is one very, very wonderful thing that I know that a lot of people want. Leadership basically for me is like influence, just influencing people to do what is right. Okay, so I want to allow us to hear about leadership, not just from older people, but even from young minds. Yes, that's the idea. Because we keep saying that young people are the leaders of tomorrow. So when will they, begin to, express what is on the inside of them? When will they do it? Okay, so this evening, I am very, very sure that great things will come out of tonight's discussion. And I'm pretty sure you you will be expecting the same. Great, very great things are going to come out of tonight's discussion. Very great things. So when our guest is ready, I think he would put on the request, and then we will add him on, and so the discussions will just start off like that. All right. So, that's what tonight is going to be. It's about leadership and the things that we want to do. Like, again, we're trying to push out a bit of information so people would see that there is hope. And then whether you are a parent or whether you are not yet a parent and you're watching this program, you'll be able to see how we can cultivate good leadership style. I don't want to say so much about him until he comes up, so he could tell us where are the places he has led that we are now trying to say is setting a pace in leadership. Where are the places he had worked as a leader? How did he fare in them? Before we now start, accruing that, that baton or that feather, giving him that feather that, well, this young man had done things like this before. So before we now start saying, oh, this guy is a leader and he could go this place and the rest of them like that. Now, don't forget that there are many kinds of leaders. We have political leaders, we have religious leaders, we have different types of leaders. Okay? So today he is going to tell us about, his own style of leadership and what he has done. So any moment from now, I guess, is coming. I'm looking out for him, so we could just add him up. All right. So hi everyone. I hope you are set to learn like I am ready to learn as well. Okay. So wow. All right. I'm trying to scan out those people who are there. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, so we are waiting for Emmanuel Nzeribe. All right, come up. Fantastic.
Good evening, Ma.
Good evening, Emmanuel. How are you? How are you? Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you properly.
Can you hear me? You can hear me properly. Okay, I'm actually raising. You can hear me now. All right. Okay. So welcome. Welcome to this evening's live chat. Okay. Viewers out there, this is Emmanuel Nzeribe, but I'm going to allow him to introduce himself to us. So over to you, Guy. Just do your introduction. Just tell us who you are, what you do, before we pick up the questions from there. Yeah.
Okay. My full name, Okeboy Nzeribe Emmanuel, popularly known as The One, because of
The One. Yeah, because we're going to really find out why that's popularly known as The One. How it came about, how you came about The One. Okay.
Because of the initials of my full name, Okeboy O.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good. Because I was really wondering, it's not just The One, but you put your finger. There's a way you do it.
Yes. It's just a simple.
Okay. Yes. All right.
So by God's grace, I'm a Christian. I'm also a student of Babcock University. I served as the vice president of the current student association administration, the current administration. I also studied at Crown Gates Nursery and Primary School, where I served as the head boy too. And
wow!
Yes, ma'am.
Really? I'm just knowing that part. I didn't know that part.
I understand,
Okay,
ma'am.
so Head Boy Primary
I
School.
also studied at the International School, University of Lagos, where
Okay.
you were one of my very good teachers. In fact, my class teacher in JSS too.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And by God's grace, I also served as the head prefect there. So, on entering Babcock University, there's a way God intended it to be, where I continued my leadership process. I'm currently a class representative of my level, and
Yeah.
I served as the director of protocol for my departmental association before, by God's grace, I won the election for vice president of the whole Babcock University Students Association on my campus.
Wow. Wow. I think I need to put my hands there.
Thank you very
That's
much, ma'am.
fantastic. Wow. Now, at what level did you end up becoming the vice president?
At
At
my
what level did you become, like you said you were, I think, a rep or something? At what level?
Okay,
Was it as you entered?
from 100 level, 100 level.
Emmanuel, from 100 level.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. They had already started seeing that leadership in you. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Can I ask a question? Are you the first child?
Yes, I'm also the first child.
Okay, okay. So because sometimes the people say your position in the family and the rest of them. Okay, so you are the first child.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. All right, so that's Emmanuel. Meeting him is a fantastic one. He was head boy in primary school, head boy in secondary school, and today, from 100 level, he had already started, picking up his position as a leader. And today, he is the vice president of the prestigious university known as Babcock University. Emmanuel, what course are you studying?
I'm a law student.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's go straight into some of the questions I have for you, because yeah, what we want to do is we want to see how you have shouldered this leadership, from primary school down to secondary school. I wouldn't know how they selected prefectship at the primary school level. Was it solely the school management, or was it by election
In the
at
primary
primary
school,
school
it was
level?
solely by the school management. They
By the school
classified
management.
students based on their behavioral and academic standards, and then there was a form of little interview for students before
Okay.
the selection, the final selection. And the funny thing was, how I knew I became the head prefect was I resumed school, and then there was a list in front of my class, and then
Okay.
I didn't think the list would be anything. I didn't expect the list to have come out that early, and then from the top I saw my name there, Nzeribe,
Wow.
Emmanuel, head prefect, and I was so amazed.
Now, how did you fit into that role then? Was it something you were expecting? And then as you became head boy, did you just pick it from there and started running like that? Was it something you were expecting before?
Well, one trait I know that I have imbibed into me is to expect anything, to expect the unexpected. So, on knowing that I was vying for that position, even as little as I was, it's one thing that my parents has always trained me to develop. I saw it as a point of contact to make sure that, in as much as I've been able to attain this leadership position, it was very pivotal at my time because I was very young then. I think about 9 years old or 10 years old. I needed to get a mentor to get a mentor to like train me properly on how to develop my qualities or the inborn qualities in me, and also to ensure that that leadership position doesn't get into my head even at that young age, because a lot of people who attain leadership positions, and unfortunately they do not do well in it, is usually because at the young time they do not curtail some important evil vices that was inherent in them at that point. So I remember that primary 6 class teacher was like a mentor to me, Mr. Benga. He was always
Wow.
he was always building me, always letting me understand some things I needed to do. And then through that, and also I developed the interest in knowing God more at a very young age. So it helped me also learning from the leadership experiences of Jesus Christ, who is like basically my highest mentor. I started understanding some very important areas of interest that I needed to develop myself in. And this really helped me even at a very young age.
Wow. I think from what you're saying, there's a lot of seriousness in your mind, even from that age. There's a lot of seriousness from that age. Okay, now let's go to when you became head boy during your secondary school days.
Okay.
Let's go back then. Now, the selection process definitely was. Were you really, was your mind made up to become a head boy even in secondary school, or was it that probably there were some things and then baton was handed over? Was it something you went for? You made up your mind that okay, I'm going to be head boy, and you vied for it, and then maybe probably there was a lot of selection. I know there's selection process and screening and the rest of them. Was it at the back of your mind wanting to become head boy even from that time?
Okay, so when I entered the International School University of Lagos, it was a different atmosphere altogether. I saw the way prefects were being respected, and unfortunately in 100 level, I didn't really have a good view of the prefects then because some of them were unfortunately bullies. So I'm someone who always likes standing up against bullies, even at a young age, because I know I had a little experience of bullying here and there, but I made it in my mind that I would reach a point where I would always fight against bullies in one way or the other. So in my JSS2, I remember the thought of being head boy hadn't entered my mind then, but I remember I had a dream. My close friends know me from JSS2, and after coming to school, I told my very close friends I had a dream that I would be head boy of ISL one day, and a lot of them laughed at me because I know I was a young person and I had a big head then. So well, I still have a little bit of big head, but it's all good. So they laughed at me and they told me that is it because of your head you'll be head boy? But I just laughed it out, thinking it was just normal banters with my mates. But then as I realized that I never attained any leadership position until SS1. I remember in my primary school, I was always selected to be the class captain or class monitor from my primary 1 to primary 5 before I became the head boy. And then in secondary school, it was a different story because from JSS1 to JSS3, I never attained any class captain
leadership.
Yes. So, but in SS1, there was a shift in my life where I realized that the leadership virtue, which looked like it was dropped in my junior stage, began to come up again. And then from SS1, I was chosen as the class representative of my class in SS1. And then from then, I became interested in the student issues in ISL. And to the extent that there was a day I stood up for a student when a prefect tried bullying the students at SS1. And the prefect tried punishing me. But fortunately, a teacher was passing. So I called on the attention of the teacher and it got resolved immediately. So in SS2, I remember when I was also in my class, there was, normally in ISL, what they usually do is that when the SS3 prefects are passing on and they're writing their WAEC or NECO, they always select a temporary timekeeper. SS2. So the head boy then, who was a good friend of mine, Erere, I believe. Yes, Erere, and also the current timekeeper then, I've forgotten her name. They recommended me to the vice principal administration, Mr. Popola. For me to be the temporary time prefect. So basically, the temporary time prefect would be like the first prefect of that set. And according to custom and the way I've seen it, once you become the temporary time prefect, you will attain the position of permanent time prefects when you're in your SS3. So I was really
Yeah.
skeptical about accepting it at first, because I knew that by God's grace I wanted to vie for the
For
position
being
of
head
head
boy,
prefect.
yeah.
Yes. But I accepted it anyways, and by God's grace all went well. The process was a really tedious one that it now became like a battle between science class and art class. I believe you know
Oh, yeah.
that to the extent that when a couple of people started seeing me as a form of threat, and they did all they could to try to demoralize me. But I kept going forth. I kept passing every stage. I kept passing every stage until the last stage when I realized that by God's grace I became the head prefect. And it really shocked a lot of people, because as if I broke protocol. I was the temporary
Wow.
timekeeper, and then I became the head prefect. But
The
I
head
thank God
boy.
everything went well.
Yeah. So that means those things help to toughen you.
Yes, yes, they really aided in toughening me. I now realize in whatever leadership position you want to attain, you will definitely have some conflicts on the way. It's never a smooth process.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's pick one question from that ISL experience. In secondary school, there's a question here for you. In secondary school, sometimes you say the leadership comes down, okay, let's say the teachers, and then we all finally accepted. Now that you were not made head boy, the question is, how did you scale through the challenges? Because sometimes the expectation from the teachers who finally accepted that you should be the head boy are there. The expectations from your peers and setmates are also there. Now, was there any form of rivalry? Was there any form of, some people feeling that you were not towing their line? And how did you tackle that?
Well, definitely there will be the rivalry, especially even amongst your setmates. The thing is
Okay.
that as a prefect, your major as a prefect in the secondary school, your major responsibility looks like is to ensure that there's decorum between student activities and the school administration, and also
Yeah.
for students to follow the rules of the school. So in ensuring that this was done, I adopted a form of leadership style, which I
Mm. Oh, my. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get him back. Okay. Well done, viewers. We're waiting for him to come back again. Okay. Yeah. So can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay, there was a break.
yeah. Okay. So can I
Yeah, there
continue?
was a break. Yes, you can.
Okay. So I
You can
adopted a form
continue.
of leadership which I called strategic leadership, where I began to prioritize the interest of I'm saying levels, that's for university, for different set of classes like the JSS1, JSS2, JSS3, and I began to determine what form of interest do they have and what prefects at that particular time will be able to fit into their interest. So I basically divided prefects based on classes then. I realized that GSS1 to GSS3 would need prefects that would build up their self-esteem, because in GSS1 to GSS3, that's like your building block. I know that I had a little bit of self-esteem issues in GSS2, and if I had people at that point who were able to help me, it would have been a better thing. So in dividing prefects based on classes, I looked for people who were really good in motivating people, and then I set them to be prefects of those particular classes. While in the senior
Wow.
secondary school, I I divided prefects based on people who are more responsible, people who can align different thoughts or align the thought process of seniors at that point, because I noticed that once you enter the senior class, you start thinking you're a big person, that you're above the school rules and all. So I
Yeah.
just, yeah. So I just decided to make sure prefects within those levels are those that would not encourage those kind of thought process, but to let students understand that you just need to make sure that you follow the school rules, and also because you are reaching the point where you write your senior school examinations, so you just need to make sure your academics remains the priority, as well as developing yourself, because once you leave the secondary school, you will definitely have to get into different ramifications yourself. So
Yeah.
the problem now was now my set mates. They wanted me to, some of them, not all of them, well, quite a few of them, they wanted me to turn deaf ears to some of the ills they were doing in school,
Okay.
because they saw me as somebody who was, I will never keep quiet when I see something that is wrong, especially if you are doing it in front of me. So I always stood up to challenge some of them who did things that were wrong. And even when, obviously, you're not to challenge them authoritatively at first because they are your mates. You have to give them that respect. So giving
Yeah.
them the respect, they started taking me for granted and all of that. Until when there was a time I realized I had to like increase my volume to somebody that this is not what you are meant to be doing. The juniors are
Mm.
learning from you. When they see that I see you doing this and I don't say anything, they'll start thinking that I am giving preference.
Preference.
So after
Mm.
I decided to do a couple of these, some people disliked me for it because they felt I should just have kept quiet and all. But after the end of it, it ended well because there was a form of deviation of the negative perspective to the good one, and things began to become good. And I'm so glad that my tenure ended well too.
Wow, that's so for me, that's a very key point you just said, because sometimes, okay, one day I witnessed, a junior student who the prefects gave preference to another senior student, and the child just goes, but that what you're doing is not fair. It's not fair, because this thing you have done, you're punishing me. Another senior student is doing same thing and you didn't punish. And they go, but should I punish our setmates? Now, like, I'm happy you took that. So that's what we're trying to glean, to pick up these things, that there is nobody, even you now devise a way, on how to reach your mates. Kudos, guy. Kudos to that. Now, let me ask another one here. Okay. What sparked the interest? I wanted to ask a question first before I ask this one. But you already mentioned earlier that your parents actually kept pushing a lot of things to you, and the way they trained your mind, so you accepted that. But then, what sparked the interest in being a leader? What really sparked it? Is it just the way they trained you, or there was something innate in you? You said something about standing up for people whom you feel are oppressed. Was that what sparked off leadership? Or what was it that sparked off leadership for you?
Where people never believe there is any.
People never believe that. Yeah, it's for selfish ends. Yes. Mhm. Mm. Okay, Nzeribe, you will need to speak up because some people are commenting that they can't hear you well. Some people are commenting that they cannot hear you well. So they can't hear you well. Hello, Emmanuel. Hello, Emmanuel. Can you hear me now? Hello, Emmanuel. Yeah, they said they can't hear you. Maybe you need to still speak up a bit. Yeah, I heard that one better. Hello? Our listeners or viewers can't hear you well. Yeah, our listeners can't hear you well. We're trying to find the bearing. Thank you. We're still trying to get him back. I think it's a poor network. We're trying to get him back. But so far, it's been a very wonderful one to
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. We'll wait for them to give you the signal whether they can hear. And I think it's even clearer this time.
Okay.
So like we were saying, we're talking about the fact that people don't believe that you are going into leadership without a selfish mind.
Yes.
You know, that was what you said, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we can hear you now. So you can continue.
All right. So I said the goal is to make people understand that not every single person vying for leadership position is just for selfish interest. You see, the world has so much put a bad image in leadership that they think everybody going for such position is for very, very bad reasons and all. So I desire to be the difference. I desire to be that change where people will know that, okay, you see where Nzeribe Emmanuel is getting involved in this, that means there's a change coming. You see where the one vote is getting involved in this, that means there's definitely impact that's going to be passed in it. So I always want to ensure that people see that God-focused leaders with the primary interest of developing and transforming the minds of others are still within this earth. And by God's grace, they will make an impact more.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Well, I'm going to come to that. I'll hold there, and I'm going to come to that. If you had a sentence to say to secondary school leaders, what would it be? If you have a statement, yes, to say to secondary school leaders, what would it be?
Okay, the sentence would be, don't make your interest to just be in secondary school. Change lives and change yourself too.
Change lives and change yourself too. Now that you are aspiring, you are now one of the leaders in the university. Do you have any plan that you will go beyond just the university? Do you still see yourself in leadership, or is it after now? It just ends. Why I'm asking that is that people say that politics is bad. Now, do you see yourself? Do you see, what's your own perspective of that? Because you had said something that there are godly leaders that could create a change on the earth. Okay? So let's say post-university, is there any plan for leadership?
Well, definitely there are plans. Currently, I'm vying for the position of president of my student association.
Okay.
And by God's grace, when it's attained by God's grace, I believe that after the university, after some years, and if opportunities do come, I would also intend to get into the political sphere of Nigeria, where there is going to be an imprint that will be made. Now, people will definitely see politics as a bad game. People will definitely see politics as something that's mischievous, and other inane characteristics ascribed to politics in Nigeria. However, the reason why it seemed that way is because majority of the people within it are deciding to follow suit to how they've seen it as. So when a good person decides to enter politics in Nigeria, he says that, well, everybody's playing unfair, let me play unfair too. Everybody is doing this, let me do this too. So nobody, even though few people are trying to change the narrative, the reason is that there is no compendium of truths they are residing on. There is no aggregate of resources. There's no aggregate of individuals. The individuals can also be resources too, where people with the same transformational ideas will come together and say, you know what, let's put forth a change in this way. Let's revamp the way politics is being seen in Nigeria. That when we move forward, we don't just move forward and change. We don't just move forward and ignore the fact that people are seeing politics this way. Let's move and then put some things in place that people will say that, oh, wow, okay, this is what they are bringing forth. Let's adopt this. Let's change the way we see politics as now, and let's bring these new people in. You see, a person who decides to change the narrative in a country should not do it alone. You can never do it alone, because
you can never do it alone.
Yes, you can never, just like the way when a finger is being sold with oil, it has to affect other fingers too. So a good person with a good initiative or idea cannot stand on his own. He has to have the capacity to make other people look at transformational ideas with him, and then they all move as a group. If you try to change the whole of Nigeria alone, you are definitely going to fail, because Nigeria is older than the person. Nigeria as a political structure has been in existence more than that person at that particular time. So it's necessary that a person adopts the virtue where first God remains the priority. Making of impact too is also a priority. And the fact that you use people for the advantage of every single person should also be there.
You use people for the advantage of everybody. That's a very serious one. Now, I want to ask a personal question, Emmanuel. Now, being a leader and then being the firstborn, are there times where your parents, you didn't seem to see eye to eye with your parents, or maybe they didn't see things from your own perspective? Did you just blow it, as a young person, or how did you take it? How did you handle it at the end of the day, that probably your parents came to see things from the way you were actually explaining it? Have you ever felt like, man, these people, they don't understand, and I need to, that kind of, what I'm trying to talk about?
Yes, I understand.
You never felt that? Have you ever felt that way?
Yeah, definitely. I've felt that way a couple of times. The reason is that individuals can never be the same. Individuals can never be the same. Our mindsets will always be different. The way we see things would always be different. The funny thing is that it may actually be to the accomplishment of a particular goal. It's just that we are seeing it in different areas.
Areas.
Yes. One thing I've learned to understand is that the fact that individuals will always have different perspectives, that means there should be an accommodation within you where you can retain and adopt their perspectives and try to reform it to ensure that that goal is still reached. So something that normally happens to teenagers, which I thank God I understood at a very young age, is youthful exuberance. Youthful exuberance can make you not to listen well.
Youthful exuberance.
Yes, youthful exuberance. It did attack me during my youth, but I made sure that I didn't allow it to destroy me, which unfortunately it has destroyed a lot of youths, especially when they're in their prime. So at that particular point when my parents disagreed with some things I did get angry. I won't lie, I definitely did get angry. But the Bible do say that do not allow your anger to lead you to sin. Being angry is not a sin. It's what's the negative resultant effect of your anger that will make it that will make it be a sin. So in my anger, I always ensured that, okay, Emmanuel, this is the time to think straight now. Make sure that you are not overthinking. Make sure that you are not being too selfish in what you're doing now. Try to look into their view. They're African parents. African parents think in a particular way. Try to try to understand their environment. Try to see if there can be a form of reformation in the way they're thinking. And if you still think, and anytime I still think my idea seems to be better than what they are saying, because everybody thinks from different perspectives. I try to approach them, okay, mom, okay, dad, I think let's see this way. I'm sorry for the way I reacted this way. Okay, let's try to amend things. And from there, it's always very fruitful, because I now realize that when approaching African parents, in fact, they've also told me, anytime they say something which you believe is wrong, don't attack it in their face at first. Don't ever attack it in their face. The moment you do that, that's the moment they would want to attack you back. So once they are doing that, you can get angry and everything. Okay, yeah, you go back, you withdraw, then you go back again to meet them, you talk to them, and then at that point when they are all calm, they will start, oh, okay, so this is what you meant. And they may still in one way or the other try to make you feel like you are still a child, a baby, but still, it will still reach to the important conclusion or reaching the goal.
Okay, now with university management, you know, students, I don't know how your school is, but my school, you know, those they will say aluta continua. I don't know how Babcock is. Maybe people are very gentle, overly pampered. I don't know. How do you, as governance been with school management, with lecturers, because you are representing the students' body? How has it been? Has there been friction? And if there has been, how were you able to resolve it?
Well, definitely there will always be frictions, as I always said. In Babcock University, we are just because the private university doesn't mean we are pampered, as some people have that ideology. We are not always pampered. Sometimes we always have issues with the school administration too, and the school administration usually have issues with us too. So as a leader, you are always the middleman, trying to see, okay, let me ensure that this person's needs are accomplished. Let me ensure that the school administration needs are accomplished. And in doing that, sometimes it can be a really hectic work, especially when students would always want you to be on their side, always be on their side, always be on their side. And then the school would be like, you are taking the image of Babcock University, you have to be on our side, so and everything. So the best way to do that is I employed the means of strategic leadership style in secondary school, which I earlier mentioned.
Which you did, yeah.
Yes, which I also do here in university. So in strategic leadership, it's in using the means of strategic leadership enables you to conjoin the interest of both parties together to still accomplish a particular goal. Anytime a leader is going into a position, or a prospective leader is going to a position, and the person only sees that he wants to fulfill the needs of just this party, then the person will always have it wrong. So you need to harness a forum or a platform where the both needs of the parties are reached, and it will definitely meet the goal of every single person. So this is what I always do anytime I enter into any form of administration. I see a way to harness into the interest of both parties, create a conjoining point, and then navigate the interest through transformational styles that will make people see and evaluate things from that area, so that both parties will definitely come into or gain their ends met.
Okay, now I think we're a bit more theoretical. Can you give us a specific, just give us at least one situation, live situation, so that we will all, understand what you did? Yeah.
Okay. So I will give an example which occurred in on my campus. So anytime students usually have issues with the security operatives because they are basically like the law enforcement officers of Babcock University, and the security operatives always have issues with students because they see students as stubborn people. They always disrespect them and every other thing. So
not wanting to comply.
Yeah, they don't want to comply at all. So when I entered into the position of vice president, I saw these issues. I saw, okay, yes, this person sees things this way, this person sees things this way. How will I get it all together? So as the middleman, as the central focus of every student activities on campus, I decided to get into a very, very good relationship with the security operatives, where I made them begin to change their perspective in the way they see students. After the good relationship I had with them, to the extent that some of us I can get into any of their offices and we start gisting. So in doing this, they developed a very good relationship with me. So when any student is being caught doing something very irregular, doing something that isn't really fruitful to them, and they try to make sure the full law destroys the student or make the student really face full hardship because of that, and I come in at that point, the security operative then sees me as a mediator. You know, the same way Jesus is like a mediator between man and God.
God, yeah.
So I have fulfilled the conditions of the security operatives by making them see students in a different light. And then the same way I have a very good relationship with the students too. So in doing that, I'm a bridging point to them. So I can make sure that the interests of both parties are satisfied at that point, where the students won't really need to get into trouble. So both of them develop a cordial relationship at the spots there, where they see that it's not as if both of them hate each other. It's just that there are certain areas where they fail to do. Probably the security operative thinking that the students will be rude to him or her, the security operative starts shouting at the students. Do you understand now? So the students not having the intention to be rude, because the person shouted at me, I will shout back.
Abio.
Do you understand? So when I'm talking to them, I make them see, okay, this is where, and all of them be like, oh, okay, let's all cover this up. It's okay, there's no problem, and then everything gets settled. So this is the practical area of the theoretical response I gave earlier.
Beautiful. At least it's so beautiful. It's well understood, very well understood. Okay, now I want to ask a few more questions. I know our time is actually running. Okay. Now, let's say I am aspiring to become, okay, let me use it this way. Leaders, back then when we were in school, you had a lot of leaders who probably they were so overwhelmed with the offices they occupied that their academics suffered.
Okay.
How are you able to bridge this? Do you get my question?
Yes.
So that because, like you said while you're trying to lead others, you also have to try to change yourself.
Yes.
While you're trying to change others, that's leadership now. You are equally trying to impute the change in your own self so that they see you. It's not that you are saying something and doing something else. So how are you able to balance? Being in law, how are you able to balance?
Well, the first thing is I always bring up the God factor, because the Holy Spirit has always helped me in different endeavors I've taken myself into. The Holy Spirit will always be my constant reminder, my constant help. In times when my weaknesses show forth, the Spirit of God is what engrosses it with it. So some people see me and they think I'm perfect. It's not true. It's just that whatever is radiating from me is the Holy Spirit, the presence of the Holy Spirit. So at that point, I will encourage everybody to develop a very good relationship with God. Don't just see him as somebody you run to get needs from. See him as a confidant, see him as somebody that should be your best friend. So secondly, I would say the human factor here is the issue of that there are two areas I would like to talk on now. The first is the people factor. The people you surround yourself with.
People factor.
The people you surround yourself with are those ones who will develop the way your mindset is. I've always understood and I've always implemented in my life that in whatever leadership position I put myself in, I always should have key people within my life that will help me. So to ensure that my academics do not suffer, I have very good friends who are academically sound too. They will even be the ones to remind me, Emmanuel, I hope you've read. Emmanuel, I hope you are prepared. Emmanuel, I hope you've been able to ensure that your assignments are completed. Although by God's grace, I always make sure everything is done. But the fact that those people are with you, the fact that they keep encouraging you, the fact that they keep reminding you is also of essence. Because the way God meets with man, the way God helps man is that God uses man to help man. God uses the people you have to help you. So setting the right set of friends. You see, the thing is that there's definitely going to be a lot of sacrifices to be made. There are people who the same way there is divine connection is the same way there is wrong connection. The same way there is divine disconnection. So there are some people, unfortunately, who will be disconnected from your life because they do not suit with your agenda at a particular season of your life. So the people factor is also important. The other one is the scheduling factor. I'm a person who schedules a lot. I always have like a time frame for different of my affairs. Because of the leadership positions I attain, I see myself in school. I wake up earlier than normal students. My roommates have noticed I wake up like 4 a.m. While others usually tend to wake up by like 5 or 6. I wake up by 4 a.m. I try to settle a couple of my things. I do my daily devotion. I spend time with the Holy Spirit and all. Then I do the normal necessities before getting ready for a class. So that's what I tend to do. And if I notice there are some things I haven't done yet, I use that period before my 7 a.m. lecture to ensure it is done. So getting these three factors settled will definitely ensure a person properly navigates his affairs in leadership positions, and the academics will never suffer. Even though there may be a comma in some places, there's still going to be a strong platform where you rest yourself on. By God's grace, my academics have not suffered despite the leadership positions I've attained in my university. And some people think there are different factors. It's just these three factors that are prioritized in my life, and this is what has been helping me so far.
Beautiful, really beautiful. Three factors. The God factor, your relationship with the Holy Spirit. So that means you already have someone who is leading you.
Yes.
And that's the Holy Spirit. That's why, someone that mentors you. And then the people factor, the kind of people you surround yourself with, even the kind of information probably you even feed your mind with.
Yes.
And then your schedule factor, that is pacing yourself, putting things, I had wanted to ask that question. When do you wake up? I was going to ask that question before, because to be a timekeeper in ISL, you must be someone who is ready to, you come to school early, when the next period, these things have practically really shaped you. So the schedule factor, which is something that a lot of young people are actually struggling with. I want to ask another one question, because our time is actually running, and I'm so grateful. It's been very exciting. Emmanuel, do you play games? I'm asking it because you are still young. You're not my age. You're not even half my age yet. Do you play games? Because I'm asking this question because I know of a lot of undergraduates and young people who are so wrapped up with the world of games, and I don't know. What would you say to such people? What advice do you have for such ones, please?
Well, my advice is, first, I'll answer your question. Yes, I do play games. I take my leisure as important as my serious time. You see, all work and no play does make Jack a dull boy. So I do ensure that I have particular rigid schedules for myself, because I can't always occupy myself with different. In fact, I do watch movies. A lot of people who know me know that I watch a lot of movies self. Sometimes it's quite shocking that I tend to watch more movies than different people too. It's just because it falls within my leisure schedule. Well, my advice to them is that the fact that you have your leisure time is important. It's very, very important. You should also prioritize your leisure time. However, you shouldn't let your leisure time to overcome the time you should be serious. You see, that's why the scaling factor comes in place. And in fact, the different other factors I mentioned comes in place. The Holy Spirit will never allow me to be doing something that is wrong at a very wrong time. Or doing something that is not important at the very wrong time. So the people factor too, the people you keep as friends will also ensure that you do the right thing at the right time. And also the scheduling factor. So gaming and movies, they're very addictive. It's one thing I know is very, very addictive. The moment you get yourself, the moment you engross yourself in it continually, you tend to lose that willpower to control yourself again. It's like another form of addiction. So you need to prioritize your interest at this point to shape yourself. Although some people are gaining money with gaming and movies, yes. But if you know that that is not your line of interest, don't draw yourself too much in it because you won't gain money using those things. I hope you understand. So that's just what I just want them to balance their priorities. It's good to have a good leisure time. It's good to watch movies. It's interesting to play games, but make sure it doesn't overcome you.
Beautiful. One last question, because our time is almost up. It's leadership when it comes to financial leadership.
Yes.
I know you're a student, and I know that sometimes, because we're looking at you setting the pace in leadership, and now being a student, how are you with when you spend money? How do you manage it? Or is it that as being a student leader, you have so much money? You get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do understand. Well,
Right.
being a leader in general, there are different areas of leadership you also need to adopt as a leader. The fact that you need to have financial stability too, because anything can come at any time, and you need to pull up resources from the reserve. So my advice to people on financial leadership is basically you making sure that your finances are managed. I advise every single person to develop a unique system of saving that is particular to them. A unique system of saving. The reason I'm using unique is that my type of saving may not apply to someone else's type of saving. You also need to look for different platforms that can encourage saving. I know of Quarrywise, I know of Piggyvest. In fact, I do use Piggyvest as a form of saving system. In fact, it's even automated. At a particular time, it takes money from my normal bank account and preserves it. So
some people are saying that your union has money, that you people have money. So
well, yes. As in student association, there's definitely rewards for your service. However, the rewards for your service, if you really want to check into Busa, well, the rewards of service, except for those who unfortunately who have served and they, in one way or the other, mismanaged funds, if you know what I mean. Well, I'm thinking myself as someone who should never put myself in that position, because I'll be doing great injustice to God and to man. So despite the fact that you can get funds from different areas, we are youth now. The youths are diversifying their interests or areas to get funds. Make sure that you're not getting funds to go and spend it lavishly, or to go to the fanciest restaurants to take different pictures, or to go to different parties, or to no. Make sure that you realize that you have a future ahead, and the future would be determined or be built by your financial stability at this point.
Emmanuel, I want to say thank you so much. It's so wonderful having you this evening. So wonderful. I am very sure that as many as keyed in, there's a whole lot, and even those that might have time to go back and watch this video, I'm sure they will be blessed, because you really touched a lot of things that for me has addressed a lot of things on leadership with young people. And thank you for carving this niche for yourself. And I'm praying that God will take you to the heights.
Amen.
Okay? In Jesus' name. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. All right. Our time is, I don't know whether you have any one thing to just say to them, because it's already counts down.
I would just say God bless you. Keep improving on yourself. No matter the weaknesses you have or the mistakes you've made, they are not enough to bring you down.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. God bless you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. It's I want to leave it until it ends. It's okay.